What's happening, everyone? Hopefully, you're doing great, having a blessed weekend. This is P. I'm gonna go over a couple of my picks for the week with you as well. We'll go over a couple of important points to look at here. So this is Spy. I have Spy pulled up, but before we dive into these charts, let me just go over to some of the weekly events we'd like to start and map out and plan accordingly, right? So Monday, we don't really have anything scheduled here on Market Watch. I also like to look at Forex Factory. However, I posted in the chat, you can see here, this is the Federal Reserve Board. It looks like we have a meeting tomorrow, quite possibly. We'll check and just to make sure, but um, I've seen and I see a couple of people on YouTube as well. They're talking about this emergency meeting, trying to figure out if it's emergency or what's going on. And just with everything with this, the Silicon Valley speculation, it looks quite interesting. So I likely will be waiting. I'll look to see how we open, but it may be best to just wait to see what happens here with this meeting around noon Eastern. All right, just throw that in there. Tuesday is CPI, so big day as well. Tuesday, going forward. So definitely, we have core PPI. So huge week coming up this week here. Big results. So we'll see how this plays out for us. Okay. But here is SPY, and you can see that we close under this S1 here, which has been S1 support for quite a while. That's pretty much what that means. That means support one, and then you have support two. So these are my pivot points, and these are levels that TradingView's algo has mapped out for us, and I use these every single day. They help me to provide service to you as well. And I actually gave a class on this not long ago, and people are doing really great using the pivot points. So happy to hear it, happy to see that. So it's very possible that we could bounce here, being at the support, right? We've bounced here several times before. We was also have kind of used this level as resistance as well. So we'll see what happens here if this is support or if we actually do head lower. Now, if we begin to break, below Friday's low, and we definitely will probably drift push down to this 380 level here. All right, this little zone down here, okay, which is also coincidentally, and it's really no coincidence that this is S2 support 2. So this would be my long-term target for the week for us to get to if we can't hold this 385 level ish. We can't hold that, then that's likely where we'll be going. We can even check out the weekly here. And so we're retesting this falling wedge now, the previous week. So we'll see if we bounce, pull back up to the, 390, 395, 400 range, or if we just break lower and possibly take out the 380s and maybe even lower, 370s, 360s, okay, for the upcoming weeks. Just gonna pull back a little bit. Those of you that like SPX, it's the same thing, higher leverage ticker. So it's going to cost more to play SPX, right? But it and SPY move together, essentially. So same thing here. This as well. You can use, like I say, this is a 5-minute chart here that I'm breaking this down. This is support, right? So we pull it down to support and we formed a pin bar here. You can look to play that, depending on your risk. I would look to hold, take off my positions a little bit below here, the support, right? You can take a position, ride that back up. It's about a 40, 45 point run up here alone, just off of using these pivot points. Okay. Same thing goes if you were to break down. Look, this is forming a bear flag here, right? Simple price action patterns that you're picking up, break down, boom, 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 rather down. It's like another 40 point move there, take. So simple things, retest. Hey, we don't break back above S1. So we do this is a SR flip, support resistance. So what was once support is now acting as resistance. You could have took a trade here and again a trade here and you would have been rich. All right, just a simple breakdown of the pivot points. I'll give a class on this. If you want me to give a more in-depth class on the pivot points, let me know. Hit me in the chat. All right, going to dive into a couple of tickers. Let's look at Caterpillar. I'm going to try to throw some tickers at y'all that I don't typically maybe trade as much. Just to kind of give y'all something new, right? And then, of course, tomorrow we'll see, pre-market, we'll see where we're at. And then we'll just go off of that, right? But Caterpillar here, huge bearish engulfing candle here, likely to pull back to this S2, right? Which is also close to the 200 SMA here. So we could look to play puts if it does break below that Friday's low there and look to ride that, right? For some nice gains there. It's about a $4, $5 move there, meaningful gains. All right, if we do bounce, then we can look to play the bounce as well, right? I'm just kind of throwing that out there for y'all. Let's look at let me just pull this up on the weekly too. For y'all. Let's see, puts does look favorable. Returning back to the weekly pivot around 215. But time will tell. We'll pull up DE as well. Similar story, similar setup. However, we are already at this 200 here, just about. So we could see a nice bounce here, or we could just break. But if we do see a bounce in DE, definitely be looking at Caterpillar as well to see if Caterpillar is bouncing, if they're moving together. Okay, there could be something there. If they're both just pulled down, then more confirmation. Right, if this breaks through, check Caterpillar. If Caterpillar is dumping as well, this should be double confirmation. You just pick your poison, pick whichever one you want to play. Okay. I like Meta as well. I like Meta here. Check out the daily. So we're here at the bottom of this trend line, inverted pin bar. It looks favorable for us to return back to the pivot. We're also rejecting this, holding below this 9 daily EMA. This could be another potential pop like so here, right? If we can get back above like the 180, 182, 183, think above 184, likely we get like 185. And if we can tap into the 188, 190 would be probable. And, from there, we'll see. Otherwise, though, if we return back to the pivot, be looking for us to return back to this base level here and possibly this 200, which would be almost a 50% gap retracement, right? Similar, a little bit lower than this previous level that we bounced at, right? So Meta looks really interesting to see where we land. I like Google, just throwing it out there. Check out Google here. We are seem to be rejecting this top falling wedge trend line, right? So like altogether, overall, this is supposed to be like a bullish setup, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't be playing, the rejections off of these trend lines, right? We did the same similar setup Friday on those puts. We held those. I mentioned on which I was holding those puts and they ended up banking. So similar situation here, especially when we begin to break down below this previous low here, and we'll form a new lower low, right? And then possible bounce at S1, support one around 83. All right. Or we could return back here and then get a bounce and then maybe a breakout. There's really no telling, but as of right now, how I'm seeing it, if we do break below that low there, definitely, wait for the lower low to set in. We could ride that. We could ride that now, depending on how price action looks. Maybe wait for a pullback, a retest, and then if we do begin to reject this range again, we could get in for some puts and look to see how that plays out for us. You look at the weekly is same story, and we're also been rejecting this 200. So time and time again, we've rejected 200 and we've come down. I just want to see where we land. Okay, time will tell. Uh, also look at Tesla here. All right, Tesla, nice play here. I mentioned that these puts were looking favorable as well a couple of days ago last week. Curious to see if we kind of pull down more to this daily gap fill here, which is also previous pivot and current S2. So definitely if we break below this previous low here, the 168.50, 168, we could see a retracement back to the 160s for sure. I'll be looking to play this short if we do go that way. We'll take puts and we'll get in and bank off that as well. All right. Otherwise, if we form support here and we begin to push up above the 179, 180, 185 retracement would be probable. We could look to play that as well. Okay. And from there, maybe we get a rejection. We can look to play puts or just ride that back up to the pivot. Okay. But time will tell for this Tesla setup here. Okay. That's all that I got for you as of now. Y'all stay tuned for more info and I'll keep you posted. Thank you for joining me.